Amelia was asleep when her stepmother crept in with a pair of rusted scissors. Outside, the moonlight bathed the compound walls, dancing gently against the carved wooden doors. Inside, the only sound was Amelia's breathing, slow, peaceful. A thick strand of her hair, black, long, beautiful, dropped to the raffia mat. Another, then another, until her head looked like a battlefield of broken pieces and cruel patches. Her stepmother, Lady Margaret, stood over her, smiling. If I cannot destroy her spirit, I will destroy her beauty. Amelia was the jewel of Ramoge village. Not just for her beauty, though even elders whispered that the gods must have taken their time in shaping her, but because of her kindness. She helped the blind woman cross the market road. She carried palm oil for the widow with trembling hands. And when children fought, it was always Amelia who calmed them. She did not speak much, but when she smiled, the whole village seemed to pause. Her mother had died when she was just 8. Her father, Mr. Andrew, a quiet man of few words, remarried a year later. He brought home Margaret, sharp-tongued, smooth-faced, too quick to smile. She came with her daughter, Diana, pretty, polite, but painfully aware she lived in Amelia's shadow. At first, Margaret pretended sweetness. She plaited Amelia's hair, called her my child. But behind her eyes, jealousy simmered. She saw how the villagers adored Amelia, how even the palace guards lowered their heads when the girl passed, how Diana, no matter how many trinkets or bangles she wore, could never draw the same gaze. Soon the kindness faded. The soft touches turned harsh, and small things began to vanish. Amelia's wrapper, her best slippers, even a coral bead necklace from her late mother. Each time she asked, Margaret shrugged. If you were more careful, you wouldn't keep losing things. Then one day, the royal gong echoed through the village square. A rider in white, bearing the seal of Prince Alexander of Ife, read aloud, "By decree of His Highness, a grand festival shall be held to choose the next queen of the land. Every maiden of age is invited." The air crackled. Drums thundered from the compounds. Girls squealed with delight. Mothers pulled out hidden wrappers, polished old jewelry, dusted forgotten perfumes. The bead makers did not sleep. Even Diana smiled, as though the throne itself had been promised to her. But it was Amelia, quiet, soft-spoken Amelia, who, that evening, stepped into the sunlight and for once allowed herself to dream. She closed her eyes and imagined it. Palace lanterns floating like fireflies, the scent of roasted plantain and pepper, the sound of flutes guiding her steps. She did not tell a soul. But that night, under her mat, she unfolded a strip of gold cloth she had been saving for years. Across the courtyard, Margaret saw her, and a new plan began to grow. The day before the festival, Margaret called Amelia into the yard. She handed her a long list. Wash every wrapper in this house twice. Clean the goat pen until it smells like oil. Fetch water from the far stream. Cook for the whole household. And if even one grain of rice burns, you'll start again. Amelia worked from sunrise to sunset. Her fingers bled from scrubbing. Her back ached from lifting, but she did not stop. At dusk, she placed the last pot of stew on the fire inside. A tiny flicker of pride glowed within her. But in the shadows, Margaret muttered, "So she still believes she will go? Tonight, I will teach her where she belongs." She pulled out her rusted scissors. By dawn, Amelia's hair lay butchered. Tufts here, bald patches there, beads clinging to broken strands. Amelia stared into the mirror, trembling. Her beauty, her pride, her chance, it was gone. Margaret leaned against the doorway. "Go on, Amelia. You wanted to go to the palace? Let's see if the prince will want a girl who looks like a plucked chicken." Amelia said nothing. She tied her late mother's scarf around her head, every knot a prayer. Then she walked barefoot out of the compound. Beyond the yam fields, past whispering palm trees, stood the hut of old Mother Grace, an elderly woman said to speak with trees and heal with words. Amelia fell at her doorstep, whispering, "She has taken my hair, my pride, my chance." Mother Grace looked at her, not at her head, but at her spirit. She smiled gently. When a lioness enters the forest, the trees do not ask of her mane. They part because they feel her power. She anointed Amelia's head with palm oil, wove what was left of her hair into tight cornrows, and adorned them with cowries carved from bone and wood, tokens of resilience passed down by women who had survived worse. When Amelia looked in the mirror, she no longer saw loss. She saw quiet fire. That night, the palace of Ife glittered with drums, perfumes, and silk. Daughters of chiefs twirled in gowns of lace, their heads piled high with elaborate head wraps. And then Amelia entered, barefoot, no gold, no makeup, just a flowing gray dress sewn with her own hands, and a crown of short, beaded braids that caught the torchlight. Whispers cut through the hall. Who let her in? She looks like a boy. She must be lost. Laughter stung the air. But Amelia walked as though the marble floors had been laid for her alone. At the top of the staircase, Prince Alexander, weary from endless parade of maidens, suddenly straightened. His eyes locked on the barefoot girl. She moved like someone who had fought shadows and survived. A sneer rose from a noble girl in bright silk. Maybe she cut her hair just to be noticed. Poor thing, desperate to be seen. Cruel laughter followed, but the prince's voice silenced them. I disagree. The room froze. She is the most beautiful woman here. Not for her dress, not for her hair, but because she walked in anyway. Whispers melted into awe. Amelia's chest rose and fell. She met the prince's gaze, not as a subject, but as an equal. When he stretched out his hand, steady and sure, and asked, "May I have this dance?" Amelia smiled for the first time that night. "Yes," she whispered. Barefoot and unbent, she danced. And when weeks later the royal decree was announced, it was her name that rang from the palace gates. By command of Prince Alexander of Ife, the future queen shall be Amelia of Ramoge. The kingdom erupted with song. Drums thundered like rain. Women ululated until their voices cracked. The girl they mocked now wore the crown. And Margaret? She disappeared, fading like smoke. No one asked after her. Amelia was no longer just queen of a palace. She was a symbol for every girl who had been mocked for being too quiet, too plain, too strange. Her crown was not made of gold, but of fire. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on your post notifications to get updated every time we drop a new video.